Howdy YouTube, Active Asshole on Roids here with another glorious rant. That's Active Asshole on Roids, kryptonite for conservatives. I'm off my roids and on the warpath. Here we go. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a couple of issues, but most of it's centered around the recent battle between Senator Warren and Elizabeth Warren and the third way, the corporatist Democrats, if you can even call them Democrats. You know, Dinos, the Joe Liebermans, the DLs, you know, the Democratic Leadership Council giving a new skin, you know, taking on a new chameleon form to beat the rap. Yeah. Of course, it's worked about as well as using a monkey wrench on a nail, but okay. I mean, that's just it, though. Do the third way libertarian-funded Pete Peterson, sugar daddy, ass-kissing, third way Wall Streeter crowd, do they even understand that in the age of the internet, you can't get away from the progressive movement? You can't get away from us, from social democrats and greens and liberals. You can't get away from us in this day and age. You can't just rename yourself. That may have been in the time before the internet. That may have been possible, but yeah, people look at names and shit. They draw conclusions and they look at where the money goes. That is to say, they do the job that the media used to do in this country. Anyway, you know, I'd like to start by saying that the third way Democrats, the ones pushing for austerity cuts from the Democratic Party direction, you know, I'd like to say that they are to the Democratic Party what the Tea Party is to the Republican Party. The Koch brothers fund the Tea Party, and Pete Peterson, a guy with known ties to right-of-center libertarian organizations in the past, is funded, and to the Chamber of Commerce, which is traditionally a right-wing organization going all the way back to the early part of the 20th century. Hell, even instrumental in organizing the post-World War II establishment conservatism after the Powell memo in 1972. This man, he funds the third way Democrats, and he keeps them in the limelight. And I'm going to say that social issues, I'm going to use this opportunity to say that the third way is basically the libertarians without the crazy quackiness. There's still the whole we're pro-austerity, we're pro-Reaganomics, we're pro-Chicago School of Economics bullshit. There's still the whole, oh, let's cut Social Security and Medicare to the bone trope. But the third way, you know, there's still this on both sides, you know, for the Tea Party and third way Democrats. I'm starting to, you know, some of the shit in my head's starting to slip away here, but like the libertarians, like the Tea Party, the third way Democrats use social issues as window dressing to distract away from the fact that they have right-wing economic views. At the end of the day, it's window dressing. You can talk about social justice, you can talk about being liberal on social issues and being pro-gay marriage and pro-choice all you want to. At the end of the day, it's just an attempt to take the national conversation away from the conversation centered around economic justice and the democratization of finance. It's trying to take the conversation away from those issues, away from intergenerational equity, away from second generation human rights, away from the conversation centered around universal health care. At the end of the day, the corporate plutocrats that fund both third way, just as this is the same as it is with the corporate plutocrats that fund the Tea Party and the libertarian right-wing movement. At the end of the day, if their daughter needs an abortion, they can go to another country and get one in a legal setting. The stakes for them are not as high, and they will wear their social issues, their stances on social issues, like on their sleeve, as if they were a teabagger wearing their religion on Sunday. They have no sincerity on this. It's misdirection on a grand scale. Hell, the whole point of the Tea Party was to drag the national conversation so far away from the conversation of economic justice. After years of the whole Reagan revolution, corporate counter-revolution, realignment, after years of that being the dominant conversation, the Washington Consensus being the dominant conversation, after years of having the Chicago School of Economics agenda coming home to roost, they don't want this conversation, the national conversation, going to economic justice. And historically, social justice, questions about social issues, social justice, race, they have been used, gender, they have been used to detract. They have been used to take attention away from economic issues. It happened in the South. Even though the civil rights movement needed to happen, the civil rights movement happening also redirected energy away from unionizing large parts of the South. And I talk about this in one of my earlier videos about race realists. But oftentimes in any given generation, we can only choose one of two things: social issues, or, well, social justice or economic justice. The two may be intertwined, but they're also very distinct from one another as well. And we've traded one for the other, whether because the right wing has made war on social justice, and we've had to redirect resources away from the battle for economic justice to win fights on the social front, while they successfully ran through cuts in Social Security, attack public workers unions. We need to have at least one generation where the conversation stays on economic justice, where the conversation stays on second generation human rights. Economic rights have to be given their due. They have to be given their time. It's the only way that we can repeal a lot of what the Reaganomics crowd have done. And the third way Democrats, in my opinion, they are every bit as dangerous, as poisonous as the Tea Party, but in their own insidious way. At the end of the day, they want to smoke pot even if it's made illegal in the U.S. They can wear their social issues on their sleeves all they want to, but at the end of the day, they're still Reaganomics proponents. They still want to piss on the working poor. They still want to present themselves, as the center, when in reality they would be considered right wing, even far right in many parts of the industrialized world outside of the U.S. They are not centrist. They're not Democrats. These These are just the Rahm Emanuels of the Democratic Party in a different skin. They're tools of the Chamber of Commerce, and they're tools of the libertarian right. And it's in our best interest to show some solidarity and get behind Elizabeth Warren and continue to fight to hold these charlatans accountable. Right-wing libertarians only make up about 7% of this country's population, of the voting bloc, of this country's electorate. Only about 7%. But somehow they've got it in their heads that they can simply anoint themselves the arbiters of what constitutes human rights, in spite of the fact that for over 120 years, what have constituted universal human rights is diametrically opposed to everything that they believe in. But they somehow believe that even though they are against, they somehow believe that even though they make up such a small group in our society, that they still somehow have some kind of monopoly, that they somehow have this, that they've somehow cornered the market on human rights, and that the only human rights are property rights. We can't allow them to worm their way into the Democratic Party, the conversation of the Democratic Party, or take the national conversation away from where it needs to be any longer. The third way charlatans, the former DLC people, they need to be to be held at arm's length. They need to be kept out, and any Democratic Party politician that's involved with them needs to be primaried out in 2014. Every single damn one of them need to be primaried out. There are about 20 of them that are affiliated with the third way that we know of. This isn't about ideological purity, though. It's about making sure that there's not a conflict of interest. It's about making sure that while we win, while running on economic issues, that there's not some small group of our party that's standing on the remnants of the New Deal and pissing on it, pissing on the past gains as we press forward. We don't need that in our party. We do not need the third way compromising our long-term goals as a movement. They've done it before when Rahm Emanuel and Bill Clinton brought them into Washington in the 90s. They took the conversation away from where it needed to be after years of having to deal with Reagan and Bush Sr., and we never were able to get it back on track until very recently. We can't allow them to do this again. We need this generation to work out for us. We can't make the mistakes of yesteryear. So, solidarity, everyone, and press forward. Concentration of wealth and power into the hands of a few is the very antithesis of democracy. It's always been that way. A self-styled Roman patrician is every bit as much a threat to democracy as any Stalin character ever could be. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Peace out, everybody. This is Active Acid on Roids.